films, the prequel. Natalie Portman's character, I can't remember her name in the story, but I thought she was Princess Amygdala, but I know that's not right. So the amygdala, and then there's all these other cortexes, which I can't pronounce and will probably bore most of you, so we won't go there, but it's available. Then the hippocampus, which he reminded me, actually got its name from Greek for seahorse. So it's because it's got that, if you look at a picture of it, it's got this equine kind of symbol thing. So it's folded that way. And it is located in the temporal lobe of the cerebral cortex. Then, what she got to share with me, is that limbic system that I just scientifically told you. It is emotionally attuned, and it's our hardwiring for survival. The amygdala, hippocampus, and the other structures, this is where we have that resonation of safety or not safety, danger. This is where fight or flight comes in. And fight or flight, you know, may have began with our ancestors with the tigers or the elephants or whatever coming after us, but fight or flight can also be you're about to walk into a new place for a job interview. Or if you have social anxiety and you're going to a place where there are more than 1,000 or 2,000 people all in one place, and you're like, I'm out of here, because it doesn't feel safe. So that's all coming from the limbic system. And theory shows that the memories, and maybe why some of that happens, the memories of those need for fight or flight is stored back there. So those memories that may have happened in those 7 years, 90% of the time, unless you're conscious, unless you've been working at it, are going to react that way because of these things. And belief code number 17, Greg Braden says, many of our most deeply held beliefs are subconscious and begin when our brain state allows us to absorb the ideas of others before the age of 7. The ideas of others. So, last week, I got all stirred up because I was thinking about this 90%, because that was new information for me. And I was saying, well, I don't know about you, but I didn't have an easy childhood. There were stuff. There were challenges. It wasn't fun. And so then I started, you know, from that point on, just going over all the stuff in my life. It was like, oh, no wonder I act this way. And oh, there was that, and there was that, and there was that. Well, I decided, yes, that's important. I do need to understand what might still be in there in my hippocampus amygdala cortex thing that is out-picturing when I go into a limbic response of fight or flight or defense. Remember? Foom, foom, shoom. And then this week, I decided to use that 90% on the good side. Because yes, there was a whole lot of going on between my birth and 7. You know, the stuff, if I told you, you'd be like, oh. And when I think about 7, I go, oh. And there were lots of good things. There were some wonderful things that happened between birth and the age of 7 that I am still happily 90% out picturing. And so this week, I spent time thinking about certain things that happened in my childhood that I know resonate with my soul and my authentic nature, that still out picture, that I can celebrate instead of the, oh, I gotta look at the 90% that's created what I don't like. This week this is the 90% of me, and it's glorious. So I take all of that and I apply it to science of mind, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, Abraham Hicks says, Ernest said, they all say, even Jesus the Christ, what you put your attention on magnifies. You want to praise and raise. So I thought, yes, I am going to spend this journey looking back at those things from the birth to 7 years that I know are intrinsically who I am, that I can celebrate, multiply, and share. And know that as I do that, that in and of itself, if there were this 90% thing, that in and of itself is going to start knocking down that 90% lower and lower and lower, coupled with a strong, deep, committed spiritual practice, so that there isn't a 90%. I don't know how I'm going to measure it. I don't know if I'm going to come back in a couple weeks and go, well, I'm down to 17%. I don't know. I may buy that brain book. I may learn more about this, but I don't think it's in my wiring, but that's a belief. It's in my wiring that I know how to figure that out on an Excel chart, that I don't think this way anymore, 90% times. That's not part of my 7 years of joy and ease. But I do know that I'm not at 90% now, and I do know that understanding this is going to shift wherever I am now to even less, so that I am living a very conscious, mindful life. That's my goal. And if I get to do it, I make it possible for you to do it as well. Those of you wish to, you want to join me. Number 18, he says, the belief code is our greatest challenge of life is when we find out that our deeply hidden beliefs are exposed and available for healing. So when the good stuff comes up or the difficult stuff comes up, we get to now look at it differently. We don't have to viscerally, we don't have to kind of almost Freudianly go through the entire difficult experience that may have created a contemporary current belief. We get to pull up the belief system and go, oh, well, now look at that. No wonder I have a fear of da-da-da-da. Because when I was 3, or when I was 5, and instead of going, oh, when I was 3 and I was 5 and that happened, you can go, well, look at that. Let me put on, maybe we should just all get white coats and glasses and have a clipboard. It might work. And then you put it on and go, let me see what's under there, and figure it out from an objective place, not a subjective place. And understand that, and then bring in that tender side, the compassionate side, and the spiritual side, and love that part of whatever happened between age 0 and 7. Bless it, love it, compassionate, forgive it. And there may be people that you need to forgive in that process, but you don't have to relive it to change it. I don't want anybody really going into the rabbit hole to try and dig out thoughts or experiences from childhood to try and understand. You don't have to do that. In fact, following these principles, Ernest Holmes and all the other magnificent people, you can just affirm and know that whatever it was is now healed, blessed, and released. You could jump to that. Some of us will be able to do that on some things. Some of us will go back, or what I have been finding as I've been doing this for this couple of weeks is, trucking through the day, and then it's like a little flashback appears, a little something. I go, whoa, hello. If I were in a movie, there would be like a bubble cartoon up there, and it would be playing it for me. And it's like, wow, I had forgotten all about that. And if it comes up for me, I know it needed to come up, and I need to give it some energy and attention, and some love and some light, so that I can release it and let it be, and take another % off of that chart, because we can do this. So, Ernest Holmes says, therefore our beliefs set the limit to our demonstration of a principle which of itself is without limit. It is not a question of its willingness or of its ability, it's entirely a question of our receptivity. So the opening question that Dr. Lipton uses in the introduction to his book, Biology of Belief, is, if you could be anybody, who would you be? Remember, we used to get asked that as a kid all the time. It's kind of like, who do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, I want to be Sid Charisse. She had long legs and was tall. And she got to dance with Gene Kelly. See, that was one of the positive things between 0 and 7. But you were asked, do you want to be an astronaut? Do you want to be a writer? Do you want to be, a doctor, a lawyer, an Indian chief? Whatever it was, you were asked, if you could be anybody, who would you be? Now, many of us who've now grown up and certainly been in metaphysical teaching, well, of course, I want to be me. And the irony is, that really is who we want to be. And yet we color it with things like, oh, I'd like to look like, or have that job, or that person's family life, or that, da-da-da-da. And we bring in pictures and images and definitions from external populace instead of remembering, because we don't think that if I wanted to be me, I'd be kind of happy, and that would mean I'm okay just as I am. And I don't think I'm okay just as I am, so I got to want to be somebody else. And what Dr. Lipton learned in his Dark Night of the Soul and transformation was, yeah, he really wanted to be him, and he got to find out who he was from the past, from current, and what he wants to be and project and become. Because I really think that who you really want to be is you. But somewhere along the line, from 0 to 7, you learned that it either wasn't safe, wasn't appropriate, wasn't right, wasn't acceptable, wasn't going to make you as much money, wasn't going to get you the right partner, wasn't going to do this or that. So you felt you had to change. And Madison Avenue and all of the magazines, commercials, etc., have really bought into that for you. And all you'd need to do is turn on the TV for less than 3 minutes or look at Oprah magazine's great, but where do you get to the articles after 57 pages of ads of things that are going to improve your life or improve your appearance? So you have an entire world around you that says, you're okay. Well, you could use a little something. How about hold it in, hold it up. Make sure you have those designer jeans, designer shoes, the right phones, the right car, the right da-da-da-da-da-da. Which means that you must not be right for who you are already, or they wouldn't have an entire industry telling you to get something else. So no wonder we wonder about how we're going to be. So remember last week, I gave you Dr. Michael Beckwith's quote about, see if I can do it again, when you believe in more, when you believe more in what you don't see than what you do see, what you don't see you will see, and what you do see you won't see. One more time. When you believe more in what you don't see, meaning when you start to have faith and belief in the things that you want, that you know to be true, not what someone else has said to be true. When you believe more in your own innate authenticity and spiritual world, then what you do see, the ads, the negativity, the gossip, all of that stuff, you won't see it or hear it because you have your own internal world that's authentic and real. And then what you do see, you don't see, so that what you see in here, you will see. Then, so you had that quote last week, right? And there's a variation of that in the textbook for Ernest. Then last night I found, it's now on my Facebook page, if I had a world of my own, everything would be nonsense. Nothing would be what it is because everything would be what it isn't. And contrary-wise, what is, it wouldn't be. And what it wouldn't be, it would. You see? Lewis Carroll, Alice in Wonderland. Yes, okay. So we've got, Ernest Holmes way back there. We've got Dr. Michael Beckwith, who's, a contemporary current, guru muhu thing here now. And if you go back now in the literary world, it's the same thing. And I think there's probably even something Dr. Seuss said that sounded like that. And all that they're saying in one literary or scientific way or another is to live the world as you know it and see it and create it because you can. You can. You are not stuck with what you see and experience out here. Yes, it may look real, and I know those of you from Missouri will like show me state, but you get to change it through your belief. Ernest goes on, if at times we doubt our ability to use the law, we should again remind ourselves that it is not I, but the Spirit of the Father in me who doeth the work. This will straighten our thought and place us again on the road of faith and understanding. We must believe. We must learn how to believe. We should treat ourselves until we do believe. And when he talks about treat ourselves, he's talking about using spiritual mind treatment, which is, for those of you who are new, spiritual mind treatment is our version of affirmative prayer. It's not a supplicative prayer, it's affirmative knowing prayer. So if we're having troubles with belief, we want to treat spiritual mind treatment ourselves into belief. And what I said last week is you go back to the Bible and it's about the story of Jesus where the Father said, then heal my unbelief. So we could... I have all these science terms this month, but maybe it's Education Month, but there's a term electrically called degaussing. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's something that, I don't even know if it's still current, but it would be something that would erase electrical tapes. It's like this process that would just, if you had probably an 8-track or an audio cassette. It would erase it, so you're degaussing. So I often visualize a portal like the doors, that there's this magical, spiritual, invisible degausser. And so I get really clear about, okay, ooh, I don't like that one. Oh, yeah, I remember that. What I want to do. Some of the thoughts and the beliefs that I think are nagging at me or that I want to release. And I take a breath and I walk through my cosmic degausser. Oh, that was good. And I release it and I let it go. That's why I say we don't have to dig in and really make it a difficult process, because if we did, many of you might not do it. It can be as simple as, okay, God, I know there's some beliefs in here, and I know that I'm still out picturing this old pattern that used to be my mother's pattern, that used to be my grandmother's pattern, and might even have been my great-grandmother or father's pattern, and I'm still living it. Ew. No, I'm not happy with that. I'm choosing a different thought pattern. I bless them. They were doing the best they knew how to do. But I do not serve them if I continue to replicate that if I know differently and better. I don't doubt for a second that if any of my ancestors thought, well, Duchess, if you think or do this and it makes you healthier, happier, richer, cuter, whatever, do it. You don't have to match that. And I say, oh, thank you, bless you, because we kind of sometimes feel a responsibility to live out that generational thing. There's even, I think, psychological studies that say a lot of people don't like to do better than their parents, meaning get a better job or more money, because in some psychological way it's as if you're being rude to them. So we have these old beliefs in there that may not be yours. All I'm saying is have some sort of cosmic little antenna in there to find them and have them go, oh, do you want that? Is that still any good? Nope, that's not mine. That was my grandma's. Bye-bye. Love ya. Here comes another one. Ooh, yes, I still love coffee. Okay, bye-bye. It's mine. Whatever it is, I'm making light of it, but I know that some of them aren't light. I know that. And I know that we have tools and skills by which we can transform ourselves. And yes, it's noble and wonderful to transform the world, but you are your world. So you got to start transforming you. And so you have scientific left brain information. You have spiritual right brain possibilities and prayer practices. Most of all, you have your own innate wisdom and wholeness and authenticity that will lead you correctly. I remember, and I know I've said this before, when I was in Pacific Church in San Diego many years ago, and we had Ray Bradbury come for a all-day lecture class. Ray Bradbury. And he was talking, and somebody asked some question about not getting what they want, or they're having all this trouble. I don't remember even the question. All I remember his answer was, then go back to what was your passion as a child. What captivated you as a child? And find your way back there, and then bring it into present time. I'm paraphrasing him, but that's the concept. And that's what I'm talking about. If you've got 90% that's going at you and out picturing that here, okay, bless, stop, freeze frame, roll it back and go back to what it is that captivated you as a child. Start to feel that joy. Feel the shoulders go down. Feel the enthusiasm. Feel that feeling that comes when you sit all night and you're working on a creative project with photos and colors and doing that, and you forget to eat. Or suddenly you look up and it's 11:30 at night, and you usually go to bed at 9. And you go, oh, wow, what's that all about? Well, I'm not tired. I'm not hungry. Why? Because you're in your authentic place. You are in your joy. You are in that place of co-creation with spirit, and all the old belief systems have gone out of the way, and you have rewired to exactly what and where you need to be. That's what this is about. I'm going to close with a familiar quote from Mahatma Gandhi. So if you think we got all the scientist stuff, and then you get this amazing spiritual man who had, yes, he was spiritual, but he had such awesome wisdom about the world. Your beliefs become your thoughts. Your thoughts become your words. Your words become your actions. Your actions become your habits. your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny. So this month we have been living and loving and really learning together. And I know that we have already shifted a huge amount of that 90%, not only the individual subconsciousness, but for the center of whatever old patterns the center